Oh, yeah, if you could please state your address.
David Clements, slave. That's what I am to this system, to your corruption.
I came here today to get an up-close and personal look at the 7 traitors to the United States Constitution.
Okay, again,
are
please.
Sitting at that desk.
So you either, at this point in the fork in the road, you either open your mind and you get on with the American people and you figure out what's going on and you let us revote with no machines and do it on paper, hand count in our precincts, and prove to us this election was free and fair.
That this whole process of the 2 minutes is a violation of our First Amendment right to...
If we would get our votes counted the day of the election.
Thank you, Mr. Schwartz. Your time is up.
Has it been 2 minutes already?
That was your 2 minutes. Thank you.
That was your 2 minutes, sir. We heard enough of your nonsense. There's Maricopa County election deniers all lined up to talk about how they've been done wrong. These traitors in front of me. I can't believe you guys stole this election from Carrie. That is the problem that they're still carrying out is, of course, Carrie Lake. I don't think she's still conceded yet. I don't think she ever will. But they're resisting. They want them to not certify these election results. They did eventually, but leading up to that, they had their say. Good for them. But here's some more details about how they're pushing back on this because they just can't accept reality. The Cochise County Board of Supervisors refused to certify the results, although members cited no issues with the count or problems in the vote. Wonder what the reason was. In Mohave County, Republican supervisors delayed a vote to certify the election, but then backtracked and certified the vote on Monday. Good job. The move is unlikely to significantly stall the final results of this year's elections, though. State officials have said that if necessary, they will pursue legal action to force the board's certification. But it represents a newfound willingness by some Republican office holders to officially dispute statewide election results they dislike, even when the local outcomes are not in doubt. In other words, it does not matter what happened. They just need to push that same narrative over and over and over again. And look how it works. Citizens walk up and repeat the same things. There's more. Our small counties, we're just sick and tired of getting kicked around and not being respected, said Peggy Judd, one of 2 Republican supervisors in Cochise, who voted to delay the certification counting results until Friday. Now, there's more about Maricopa County as well. Ms. Judd described the move as a protest over the election in Maricopa County, where Republican candidates have claimed, with absolutely no evidence, does that sound familiar? Widespread voter disenfranchisement, largely as a result of ballot printing errors. Ms. Judd acknowledged that this was mostly a pretext for a certification delay that was intended as a protest of Maricopa County's own certification. It's the only thing we have to stand on, she said, referring to the voting machine claim. Weird, if that's the only thing you have to stand on, maybe you should stand on something that's significant. It has some kind of basis behind it and that you can prove is something you should stand on rather than just standing on it. Let's jump down to graphic 8 because this is another reason why this continues to happen and he knows it. Trump took to Truth Social and truthed this. The Maricopa supervisors are far worse than the Democrats ever were. The only question is why? Well, good job, Donnie. If the Maricopa County supervisors who are Republicans are worse than Democrats, I guess don't vote for them, huh? All you Republicans out there, they're worse. Stay home. What's your thoughts on this, David?
Look, I get whenever any of us lose at anything in life, whether it's dating, whether it's a sports team, whether it's an election, there is a natural human impulse to say, oh my God, this must have been rigged. I couldn't have been responsible. My person couldn't have been responsible for losing. Something must have happened that caused this unfair result. But part of being a grown-up and going through the grieving process is to sort of say, okay, well, let's see, was there any hard evidence that the fix was in, that this was rigged? And when there's none of that evidence, and again, as you pointed out, there was none of this evidence in Arizona, then the grown-ups have responsibility and the candidates that say, look, we gave it our all, we did everything we could, we came up short. And that's what helps people sort of grieve and get over and move on. But for Carrie Lake to stand out there, continue to say we were robbed, I clearly won this. What it does is it inflames the people who have some emotional problems, who can't sort of put their arms around the fact that they came up short. And you have this particular mess. And again, I would just point to people, if you are so troubled that you have to go to a Maricopa County meeting and talk about these 7 traitors up there, we're gonna get the death penalty, you've got something seriously flawed with you and your emotions, and you need some help.
I'm glad you mentioned the whole thing about pushing supporters to maybe do certain things, because we've seen it already. On election day, there was threats and there was intimidation factors and all those happening, and we've been seeing violence growing throughout the country politically. Last quote here, graphic 9. Several speakers evoked violence, of course, with one suggesting that members of the board were traitors who may have committed treason, punishable by the death penalty, they said. This is a war between good and evil, and you all represent evil, said one activist, Chris Hamlet, as he pointed at members of the board. It's good and it's evil. It's good and it's evil somehow in an American election system. The way these folks connect their religion to the country and the people involved in it, they think they're living in this fiction storybook of the way things are. You guys are evil. Or you're wrong. Or if they're wrong, say you guys are wrong. You missed the point. You didn't get this, and that facts together. Instead, it's good and evil. Good guy, bad guy. Are we 7 years old, bro? Calm down. I'm so tired of this. This is a political system.
You make the right point. I mean, it is a choice, right? But it's not a choice between good and evil. It's a choice between reality and fantasy land. And people who believe things without any sort of facts, who don't believe science, who don't believe hard evidence, who just because they have a feeling, I have a feeling that Republicans were robbed, those are people who are living in a fantasy land. And that's, everybody has to make a choice. Do you want to deal with reality, or do you want to live in your own sort of bubble? And maybe it's easier in some ways to live in a bubble, but don't be surprised then when the rest of us look at you and say, you're crazy.